the approach that empaths must take on their healing journey. All right, welcome to the Healthy Empath video series I'm doing here right now. And that's the topic of this one. All right, again, Mike here from thehealthyempath.com. And the book, The Healthy Empath, the premise of it, the main thing, and when I work with clients, and whether this is, you're working on a particular health issue, just like weight and fitness, physique, relationships, business, money, whatever it is, the most important aspect and kind of belief system to go into it is with this inner approach. All right, the inner way versus the outer way. And that's what I start off talking about in the book, and how most people try to go about things the outer way. And I learned a lot about this initially from helping people with weight and health challenges. And the outer way looks kind of something like you get frustrated by something, or fed up, or triggered, and so you go, all right, starting Monday I'm going to do, and then you just pick a diet, and then you just try to rely on your willpower to force yourself into some type of change. And you typically, that doesn't work, or it does for a little bit, and then you just end up in a cyclical pattern of always doing things like that. And even in relationships too, patterns with different with your partner, and you say you're never gonna be with someone who is like that again, or put up with that, whatever the story may be. And then you just end up repeating these patterns and wondering, like, why does this keep happening to me? And so for the empath, it's important to take the inner way, and really it's about approaching whatever it is that you're working with, approaching it as a healing journey, and kind of actually knowing that it is your healing journey. And so coming at it from that perspective, well, you're able to extract so much more out of whatever it is that you're going through, and really learn the lessons, and surrender to the soul experience, whatever's going on for you. And then you have to slow down a bit, and then just pause, and then go inward, right? And then change from the inside out. And for this is a good comparison also for health challenges. Again, if somebody is trying to just change the way that their body looks, or get healthier by maybe say just like macro counting, and changing their physique that way, but they haven't built this healthy body from the inside out, like you don't have healthy organs, right? Your body is toxic. And so no matter, even if you do kind of get it to look differently or more appealing to you, then it's still going to be healthy underneath, because you didn't go the inside out, you didn't rebuild from the inside. And then so from this inside out approach, as rebuilding from the inside, reflecting inwards, and then surrendering to the lessons. And then when you do that, you really open yourself up to whatever it is that you need to do or to face. And this isn't always the easier way, right? This is not necessarily the easier option, right? And because there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and you don't know how long it's going to take, and it might not ever look the way that you want it to look, or that you initially think it's going to look. But it's really what is necessary for this, ultimately, for the most expansion, the most soul growth, the most healing, and to really get you into what it is that you want. So if it is a health condition, then, or a disease, or diagnosis, and instead of being able to look at that as just some specific thing that's kind of happened to you, and now it's you against it, it's really about recognizing that this is a part of you, communicating with this, surrendering to this, and then learning that it's not something that it happened to you, and it's something that is a condition. It's a condition that's been created through the way in which you've been living your life, or from what where you've been living your life. So it's you're now able to come at it from this place of a higher perspective and looking at it as a condition versus this kind of minuscule diagnosis. And then same thing with if you're just kind of wanting to you don't really like your job, or you're starting a practice on the side, doing some type of healing work or something like that, and you really want to do that full time and get out of the job that you don't like and make enough money to just live a good life and abundantly. And so sometimes if you just only focus on that outside approach, and you're just kind of taking what you're learning in these books and then going, but then you find yourself constantly in patterns or not ending up where you want to be, then that's where it's time to take the inner approach and really reflect inward and surrender to the lessons before you. Surrender is actually another chapter in the book, which I won't fully go into now. I just want to touch briefly on the first part, which is the inner versus the outer way. And then for the true healing, the lasting change, I believe that it is necessary for empaths to take the inner way. So, how can you start to take the inner way? First would be to recognize that, right? It's with the awareness, having the awareness that, and just deciding that you're going to do things differently this time. That you've been, spinning around, just burning the candle at both ends, frustrated, tired. You've tried so many things in the past too, probably, and there's a lot of conflicting information in different places. You're torn between your head and your heart. It's just whatever it is. The first thing it would be to slow down and then decide, okay, I'm going to do things differently this time. I'm going to surrender to my experience, to my soul, to this path, to the universe, to what's in store. And I'm going to trust, another chapter in the book. I think I put that in there with surrender. And so I'm going to surrender, and then I'm going to trust that it's going to work out in my favor. It doesn't mean it's going to happen exactly how I want it to happen or when it's going to happen, but I know this is the path that I must take, and I know I will continue to expand and to grow and to feel better and to live better as I do this. So that's the first part. Just take a relaxing moment, awareness to this subject matter, and then make an internal decision. And that is extremely powerful. And that's also where commitment comes in. And these decisions and commitment are the most important aspects for change, right? Awareness, decisions, commitment, starting there, even that alone, that's just going to cause a shift in perspective, a shift in thinking, a shift in being, which is now you're going to start to see things differently. Your intuition will start to rise. The universe will, be highlighting more signs throughout your day to you and for you, connecting you where you need to go, and you'll be able to discern along the path. And the more you can stay connected to your heart, the easier that will be. And an important part here is to follow that intuition and follow that excitement, and also sometimes to follow the fear. And it doesn't have to be something that makes sense. Like, oh, I don't see how this relates. I don't see how doing that is going to get me there. It's really important to let that go and surrender and say, I can feel that this is right action. So I'm going to trust it. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know it'll make sense in the future. And just something about that in general, we don't really have the capacity, at least in our physical thinking mind, we don't really have the capacity to understand what is happening right now in the moment, right? Or to fully kind of understand and have it make sense. We can really only do that with things in the past. So I think our mind only has the ability to perceive, what has happened, not what's happening. So it's so important to stay connected to your heart, to feeling, to intuition, to know what is happening, at this moment. You can feel something there, and you can trust, and you can have some ideas and intuitions and thoughts around it, but it won't really be until looking back on it when you say, it makes so much sense now. I get it. I understand why it had to be like that. I understand why that had to happen. I wouldn't have chose that in the moment, but looking back, I totally get it. So that's one thing that's important to note, is to let go of so much of the overanalyzing and thinking, that's going on right now, of how this is all going to make sense, how is this going to help me, just looking for the one thing to solve your problem, right? And really just opening yourself up to anything that's going to come, your way to help. I know my life, this continues to happen all the time throughout my life, when, I want one thing and then it just, doesn't happen. I'm guided somewhere else. And I remember too, I was working with a friend, and she was actually, helping me figure some things out. And I was, this imagery came up for me, and it was like this archetype of the spoiled prince, and he was there riding on his high horse, and he said, I am going to do things this way, all right? And that's the only thing that's going to work, whether you like it or not. And so he's kind of just closing himself off to so much opportunity and so many things coming his way, because he's too busy prancing on his high horse. Look at me, nope, I want things to happen this way, I'm going to do it that way, all right? And not in this kind of, because sometimes that can be a positive trait. There's a positive side to that, where you just, when you have this knowing of like, all right, and, I don't care if that's what somebody says, I'm gonna do it this way. I know this is what I gotta do. This is not what I'm talking about. This was, like I mentioned, the spoiled prince on his high horse, who thinks he's, too good to do a lot of different things, that he, could have or should have, whatever you want to say, been doing at that time. So that was a moment where I needed to, again, surrender and say, okay, what is coming up? What is coming my way? Let me stop judging it. Let me stop thinking, how is that going to relate to that? If that's not going to get me where I want, then I want no part of it. And just really tapping back into the heart, back into the feeling of right action, and then trusting that. So I hope this was helpful, and that you have an idea, of this inner way, outer way, and that it's so important for you to surrender to that, to really take the inner way. All right, and that's where, taking the inner way, that is, like I said, it's the harder way, because that means that's the way that you have to face your darkness. It's where you have to enter the unknown. It's where you have to do shadow work. It's where you have to do the trauma healing. It's where you might have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, and things that might scare you. But it's the way. It's just the way. Right? And then what's the alternative? Staying stuck and frustrated and spinning in circles and, repeating the same patterns over and over again? That's definitely no way to live. So, right, it's really about, stepping onto that is, that now, like the warrior energy, the warrior archetype coming in, the heart warrior. That's really, really where you need to embody that energy to say yes to that path. Embodying your inner warrior, your inner heart warrior, and saying yes to the inner way, because it is the way. All right. Let me know if you have any thoughts about this, questions or comments, and I'll be happy to let you know. And I finished this part of the book, so I can always go back and I went into a little more detail on things, but I mean, that's not the point of the videos, is to do the whole book. It's just to get a lot of these concept things out, and things that might be of use now. But when the book comes out, also want that still to be of use too. So there will be a lot more specific things, a lot of stories, and just a really good way of relating. So, all right, Mike, Healthy Empath, I'm out.